The digital imaging system that's utilized in the OTC dental clinic and labs is the Schick CDR digital sensor. In front of me, I have the 3 different sizes of sensors. Sensors come in sizes just like traditional intraoral film. In front of me, I have the size 2 sensor, and then on the table, here's your size 1 and a size 0 pedodontic sensor. The sensor itself has 3 basic parts. The top of it is the actual sensor with the flat side that is placed towards the source of radiation. The back side of the sensor is where the cable plugs in. So this is how you determine the front or back of the sensor, just as you would determine the front or back of your intraoral film. The cable, the long portion, then connects to this piece that will be plugged into a remote on the computer. When using the digital sensor for full mouth radiographs, one thing you have to be mindful of is not to excessively bend the cable. So every attempt should be made to keep it as straight as possible. When it's stored, it should be hung up like so, and the cord should be stored in a straight manner. And then when you're using it on the patient, obviously it's going to drape as straight as possible. When you're ready to actually use the sensor, you'll retrieve one from the sensor cabinet, and there are barriers. We have size 1 and size 2 appropriate to each size of sensor, and they're basically just a plastic sheath that you're going to run the sensor into. And the tip of this is pretty tight, so once you get to a certain point, you'll really have to push to get the sensor all the way into the barrier, and this will help later to ensure that there's not any movement once it's in the patient's mouth. Once you have the digital sensor barrier, you're now ready to use this on a patient. You just need to plug it in to the remote located behind me. And what the remote does is the radiation that is sent on the sensor will send a message through the cable, which then connects to the remote and transfers through the USB port to deliver that message to the computer and create a picture based on what was absorbed here on the sensor. So to plug this in, you want to grasp the remote as much as possible, and then you'll insert the connector into the prongs. You want to try and insert it as straight as possible, but some of these do have quite a tight fit. And then once it's inserted properly, your computer screen will show a signal that your sensor is ready for use. When you are ready to detach this from the remote, you want to grasp it here on the front and attempt to pull it out as straight as possible. Again, it is a tight fit, but excessive wiggling back and forth will eventually damage the prongs inside the remote. And that is a brief introduction to the Schick CDR digital sensor.